We are starting in exactly 11:30. We are running on time today, and I'm very pleased. Welcome again. It is me again. I'm sorry for you, but INC is protecting all the small nuts. So pine nuts and Brazil nuts, they need to have the godfather involved. No, I'm joking, but I am today representing the Mediterranean pine nuts production, and I would like to introduce my panelists, Mr. Chang Pengzhu and Rustam Kusku. Please introduce yourself and tell what you are doing in your company.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, and it's my first time to have a presentation in the INC Congress. I'm from Mexico Gualin Native Products. We are the processor and the manufacturer for pine nut kernels. Thank you.
Rustam?
Good morning. I am Rustam Kushu from Oriflame Company.
Speak more close to the microphone, yes?
From Russia, I represent the Russian Pine Nut Producers Association, which is main aim to promote Russian pine nut kernel worldwide.
Very good. We have the two largest countries producing pine nuts, so we are very well on the track. Now, please read carefully the antitrust statement, and then we go to our chart. This chart is showing how alternate is the production worldwide, and with posing China being the first one, with Afghanistan and Pakistan. Then the big Russia that this year has a much lower crop. North Korea, about North Korea I will have a chapter apart, and Mongolia. And then, as usually, we go down to the Mediterranean Pinus Pinea, so very small quantity, where Portugal was the leader. I believe that Portugal has still big potential. They suffered big fires a few years ago. Then Turkey, which is progressing pretty well. Italy is in a stable position. Spain the same, and the other country very difficult to detect, to have more information, but there are. So practically this year we are entering in the 2017-18 crop with 3,000 tons, I will say 6,000 tons less than usual, and the producing countries still consider that there can be a carryover. The carryover, it is an important point, because one of the questions to the panelists from my side remain, but are the pine nuts always sold during the harvesting season or not? So, due to the increasing consumption in China for the in-shell roasted or natural pine nuts, we suggest for the future activities to create also for these products a separate in-shell and kernel chart. In the past, the pine kernels, they were just used as such, but now with the new way of usage, mainly in China, I think is a necessity, because, for instance, North Korea is exporting in-shell as well kernels, but they go mixed. And please pay attention that from 100 kilos of pine cone in Mediterranean, we are getting only 12 kilos of kernels, and in the Siberia and Asiatic area, they are getting about 20 kilos. So practically, it is difficult to make a real statistic serious. But pine kernels are extremely important for their value, and also the diffusion. Value, we are talking by lowest $20 a kilo. As well, the Mediterranean, we reached up to $40 a kilo. So practically, when we go to the volume by value, it is a fantastic product. That is the chart. You see the prevailing production country and processing country remain China, because China is collecting pine cones and pine nuts also from the neighborhood, and they are the real specialists in shelling and processing. That is the usual chart of the import. Actually, it looks that the United States and Germany, they are leading. I would say Germany even before. Now, pay attention that Germany, it is also a receiving port, and then from Germany, mainly from Hamburg and Bremen, the pine nuts, they are diffused to all the other European countries. As well, same situation is for Netherlands. The port of Rotterdam is extremely important, and the importers, they are the big European trader. Now, from this chart, which is taking into consideration the consumption, look only on the right bottom, 20 grams per capita. You know that in the other nuts, we are talking about 2 kilos, 3 kilos, 1 kilo and a half. Here we have 20 grams. Difficult to make an estimation, but it is important that in the nuts basket, in the nuts utilization, the pine nuts are present more and more. That is an example of the various pine nut trees. The Pinus pinea, which is the umbrella, it is typical on the Mediterranean region. The Pinus siberica or Yunnan, they are mainly from the Asiatic area. It is a very interesting forest. I was participating recently at FAO in Rome to an important symposium, how is necessary for the world environment to stimulate more forestation, and that will be one of my questions to the panelists. Now I hand the word to Chang in order that he can report about China, which is the latest news.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Pino. Can you please help me to go back to the chart, the table?
Yes.
At the beginning,
yes,
can show the numbers. No, it's not that one. It's the overall table. Not this.
Not this. The overall.
Yes.
Did you give to?
No. It's
yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. To go back.
Yes. Yeah. My presentation is based on this table, so it just make everyone clear. Okay, I will introduce to you the production and the market of pine nut in China and the Far East region in the recent 2 years. Year 2016 was still a small production year for Chinese pine nut, with a total of 3,000 tons in kernel. It is a little bit smaller than what we expected at last year's San Diego Congress. The beginning stock was 2,650 tons in year 2015. Therefore, the total supply amount for last year should be 5,650 tons. So you can see clearly on the table. For last year's production, we need to pay special attention to Mongolia, where pine nut export was not allowed in the past few years. Due to the government's urgent need of foreign exchange and Mongolia's big harvest, around 7,000 tons of pine nut kernels was exported to China last year. North Korea also had a good harvest last year with a supply of 4,500 tons. The crop of red pine in Russia was a failure last year, but was quite good for Siberian stone pine. Russia's total export to China was about 3,300 tons. Generally speaking, the global production in 2016 showed that the pine nut supply was slightly greater than its demand. There was another special condition in year 2016. That's the Chinese government and the banks tightened up the monetary policy, which led to capital shortage for domestic companies. So they were afraid to keep or increase their stock. Therefore, the price for Siberian stone pine kept decreasing. But the Chinese government has implemented a stable monetary policy this year. We believe that the price for pine nut kernels will keep steady, but slightly rise in 2017. Now I will present the production forecast for pine nut kernels in 2017. From the current growth of pine trees, we expected an average harvest for Chinese red pine kernels. The production is expected to be around 4,000 tons. On the other hand, due to the low domestic purchase price for Japanese stone pine, Yunnan pine, and the Chinese pine, which cannot cover the harvest cost. So there will be no harvest for those varieties at all. It was a big production year in the Far East region in 2016. So year 2017 will be a relatively small production year. The production is expected to be 3,000 tons of red pine kernels from Russia, also 3,000 tons from North Korea, and 2,000 tons in Mongolia. In summary, the total export available in the Far East region should be around 12,000 metric tons in total in year 2017. There will be a relatively balance for supply and demand this year. The above analysis is only for your reference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chang. And may I ask Rustem?
Yeah, I can tell you that last year we had huge crop in Russia, 9,000 ton kernels in kernel basis, but total resources in Russia are much bigger. If we count only Siberian Pinus sibirica, it can be 175,000 kernel bases. And in Pinus carenis, it can be another 55,000 or even more. So total, if you calculate, Russia can be the #1 supplier, which covers all world consumption, even 2 times more. But there is huge area, forest area causes 2 problems. You cannot harvest all the crop. So if you harvest all Pinus sibirica, it can be around 50,000 kernel bases, and Pinus carenis maybe 16,500 kernel bases. So you see how rich Russia for pine nut kernel. Last year, only 9,000 metric ton we could harvest, which is only 11%. So we see that the last crop was bumper crop, but next crop we expect to be smaller, around 3,000 metric ton. Here you can see where we export our pine nut kernels. China is the main buyer. They buy in shell. In kernel basis, it's around 3,000 metric tons, and internal domestic consumption, 3,500 tons. To Europe, we start to promote export of kernel. Last year, it was only 230 metric tons, but we work hard to export more and more kernel and new products. Not only kernel, but pine nut oil we produce, pine nut flour, pine nut milk, and also we can do some different confectionery candies containing pine nut kernel. So hopefully we can constantly increase our export of kernel and pine nut products to Europe and other countries.
Thank you, Rustem. Let's go back to this part, and for the following Brazil nuts term, it is interesting how the forest worldwide, the Amazonia forest and the Siberian forest, they have a huge capacity. The product is well demanding, and you are not able to harvest. That is a really fantastic point. So the natural production is there. It is practically the forestry which has an edible production, and they remain untouched. In Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, it is the reason that the river and the road, they are not okay, and in Russia we can enter in the forest. I was asking Rustem to put this question point in red, big, in order to attire your attention on this area. So let's, after this presentation, let's put some questions which are coming from our team, because we have been discussing in the last 2 months actively in order to prepare. One of the questions I'm putting myself, and I respond myself. The Mediterranean Pinus pinea, they are having a big problem for the a bug which is attacking the young cone when it's still green and tender, and practically is causing a cancer, and that cone is not producing or producing only 1/3 of the surface. That is one of the problems why the Mediterranean, and that is a part of what we heard this morning also about the green bug. In this case, it is a different insect, different species, but that is a problem, like we have the big problem for the palm date in Mediterranean too. So that is recalling us how to work in order to restore the normal condition. The second question that I have here: how is developing the consumption worldwide, and which are the main usage? Can you, Rustem?
In Russia, main usage for pine nut is snack. It was historically, and it's used as a snack product through supermarkets or through other retail. But now, as I said, we try to produce new products containing pine nut. It's like pine oil is become more and more popular. Flour, which we use in the confectionery, flakes, and also pine nut milk. We have producers trying to promote this new product in Russia, trying to consumers to eat not only as a snack pine nut, but as an ingredient. So, and from confectionery side, we also see the interest for pine nut as an ingredient, and we hope that we will see more and more candies, bars containing pine nut.
Very interesting. You know how is the diversification of usage from the traditional one and to the new one. That is very important in terms of innovation and R&D for our industry in general. And what about you, Chang, in China?
Well, at this stage in China, the domestic use of pine nuts is very simple. It's just to use like roasted nut as a snacking food. Yes, that's all.
Thank you. Well, can I tell you that about 30 years ago, when I was traveling to China, at the beginning as a buyer for pine kernels, I was told all the production of China is exported. We are not interested in the internal usage. It is only for very little portion of the population, mainly few pine kernels on the tea, afternoon tea, and that's all. Today, China is revolutionary as in everything, and that is very important. Roasted in shell pine nuts is becoming a new usage. But there is also something new, that the Afghanistan and Pakistan, with their production, which we estimate 6,000 tons, practically 90% now is exported to China in direct or indirect way, doesn't matter, we are not fiscal people, but they go there, and the famous long pine, they are becoming, with a very fragile shell, they are roasted and they are present in every bazaar, in every street market, in every large supermarket. So that is again a revolution that is taking place. In fact, the Pakistan and Afghanistan imports to Europe went down by 65%, so practically almost nil, and with very high price, very high premium. That is part of this pine nut story, which is very interesting. Now, another question for you. It is the incognito of production in North Korea, which is estimated at 20,000 metric tons in shell, how they are moving from North Korea and how they are disappearing on the market. It is true, it is possible. What is your opinion, Mr. Chang?
Well, there were 40,000 metric tons of in-shell was exported to China last year, and I think half of them are used domestically as roasted nuts, and another half, which is 20,000 tons of in-shell, was processed into kernels. That's come to about 4,500 tons of kernels for export.
Very good. I thought that was another President Kim question or incognito, that because it's interesting to know that in North Korea today the army, it is one of the major collectors, and sometimes is representing also a direct income for the army. Now, about new forest or new forestation, and what is your opinion? As a China a project?
Well, the forest area is actually still growing. The new trees have been planted, and the older trees is getting bigger. So the production for the older trees, the corns they can produce per tree will be increased by the year passing by. So the overall growth for production will be 3 to 4% in average each year. So yeah, it's actually growing.
This is a very good news. So there is an increase, and due to the young trees. By the way, the Mediterranean trees, they are very long-term entering into production, but the Siberian variety and Koreanensis, they are much slower, and that is a good information. Same question to you, Ruslan, but maybe you already replied. We
don't need to plant new trees. We just need a lot of people to harvest it. So
yeah.
And hope for good weather conditions to be able to go to forest, harvest, and process. So we have enough trees.
You have enough. Well, the very last point, I'm glad to inform that INC is supporting a study from Chile, there is a researcher that found that Chile has the same Mediterranean climate, and they are developing 11,000 hectares of new forest in south of Chile. And we are supporting in terms of data, information, and also exchange of our scientific team. So that is the part, and we have only one question from the floor that go to Mr. Chang about Chinese producer have unlimited volume of organic Siberian pine nuts with 20 cents markup. But this raw material is coming from Russia and Mongolia without certification. How is possible? Anyway, the pine nuts, they are for sure an organic tree production. I don't think that anybody is spraying pesticide, etc. Maybe in the process chain, the factory which are processing and selling to the United States, they have a status of organic processor. So practically they are granting in some way. But the question is for you, Mr. Chang.
As you said before, I think pine nut is obviously organic because you cannot easily plant pine trees. They take many years to produce the corn. So I think it's about the companies who have this organic certification for their products. So as long as they pass the approval from the certification, that means the quality of their products is organic. Does that make sense?
Yes. Ask to your certification body, and that is also a reply. I thank you very much to my friend panelist. I thank you for your attention, and before giving and passing to the Brazil nuts, I would like to invite Professor Huigon Aksoy, because she has a good, strong message for us.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I have one slide that I would like to show you. Next year, between 12th and 16th of August, we are organizing the 30th International Horticultural Congress, and it has a lot of, we have 37 symposia, and we are aiming at gathering more than 2,000 people from all over the world, and I hope that it will be of great interest to you as well. And even if the International Society for Horticultural Science is a science-based society, it has very close relationship with INC, and we have cooperated in the previous meetings because from both sides, if science comes together with the sector, there will be better quality, better processing, and good for everybody. And I invite you to take part at which level you have the interest as a participant, as giving a presentation. And thank you for giving me the floor to make this announcement. We are waiting you to Istanbul.
Yes. We are devoted to Professor Aksoy because she is a fantastic supporter on our scientific committee, and I found from the agenda at least 7 good points. I like to remember that we have a strong relation with the International Society, Horticultural Society, and it's very important because our rainbow starts from the field. Thank you very much, and now we have the traditional picture.